with us starting.
All right.
All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Coaches. I am your host, guys, as always, Coach Steve, guys. We have another fantastic episode because it's week 1 of the fantasy football season here. I didn't have an intro, so if you were expecting intro, there's no intro. Just because I have to work some things out now with some new things we have going on. But we have Coach Tyler here today. Coach Tyler, what is going on, bro?
What's up, guys? 2.5 hours until we get our first kickoff. I'm excited for it.
Yes, me as well. Ravens and Chiefs tonight. Hopefully it's going to be a good game. I got some bets out there. I have all my players who are ready to shine today in today's game. Hopefully all my players and the players who I'm facing against do not. It's going to be a lot of fun here. So we are into week 1, guys. Like I said, every Thursday we are going to be doing some sort of creative start and sit show here where we kind of on the spot talk about who to start and who to sit. So we're going to kind of go through that, and we're going to plug these players in as we talk about them so you can see them live, so we're not just plugging players away, because we're actually going to discuss about some of these here and there. And we'll go through each game besides Thursday Night Football, because by the time you're listening to this later on, it would have already come. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them into the chat, and we will get things going here. All right, so let's start out here at the top. Let me pull up my screens here once again. Oh, there we go. Let's go back to the right tab here, and we will go in this view here. Here we go. That's a nice start. Better view. All right, guys. So we're starting here at the top here with the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles playing on the first ever, well, I guess second ever Thursday night football game, an actual night game though. So they got away with that because I believe the rule is that like they can't have a Thursday night game after the second Friday or some shit like that. They happened to make it work this year, and they said, hey, let's have a Friday night game here. So let's start here at the top, Tyler. Where are we looking at here for starts this week? And let's start with the quarterbacks, and we'll kind of go through these quickly so we can get as many players as we can. So let's start with the Packers side of the ball, and then we'll go from there. So let's start with Jordan Love. We starting Jordan Love tonight?
Yeah.
Not tonight, but tomorrow night?
Tomorrow, yeah. Obviously, you're starting Jordan Love, coming off of, I want to say, 4,200 yards, if I remember it right, from last year.
Yes.
You didn't have to pay an extreme price for him, but there's a very good chance that if you drafted him as your quarterback 1. So you're starting him no matter what. This is, projected to be, I think it's the highest highest total for week 1. So it's supposed to be a shootout. We'll see what it looks like, but I'm starting Jordan Love with confidence.
Yes, as am I. You should have no fear about having him in your starting lineup tonight. You draft him as your top quarterback. He's got the weapons around him. It's not a real away game for him. He doesn't have to deal with that Philly crowd. He gets to be in a scary place down there in Brazil. But he should be pretty good in this game here. You should be able to start him with confidence as a top 12 quarterback in week 1. Josh Jacobs now. Josh Jacobs, obviously, Emmanuel Wilson is likely going to be his backup. Marshawn Lloyd is kind of dealing with some injury concerns right now, which he could miss this game. But really, just Josh Jacobs is probably the guy we want to talk about here. So you have him as a starter as well there, Coach Tyler, or are you kind of on the fence with him?
Yeah, I'm starting him just because of where you were drafting him. The hard thing with week 1 is you're basically playing everything off of the ADP of where you drafted guys, barring some kind of last-second injury. So, you're drafting Josh Jacobs high enough that he really needs to be in your lineup unless somehow you caught a flyer in the 14th round that you just love more than Josh Jacobs. But, receivers don't do overly well in international games. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of ground and pound, both to Josh Jacobs and, the Eagles run game that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I'm, confidently starting Josh Jacobs. There's no one to really vulture touches with Marshawn Lloyd out and A.J. Dillon out for the season. So going into week 1, he should retain that bell cow workload that we know and love from when he was in Las Vegas.
Of course, absolutely. And I agree with you on all that notion there. You should start him. There should be no reason to. Eagles front seven's a little scary, but he should still be considered a start. He's going to see the workload over the wide receivers. Now that's going to be a little tricky here, unfortunately. But, is there any of them you have a confident start in, or are they kind of all on the fence for you?
The only one that I'm really confidently starting is Jaden Reed, just because of what we saw from him last year. I do like Christian Watson. We've talked about throughout the offseason, him going to, specialists that have dealt with hamstring injuries and finding out about the muscle deficiencies and working through that and trying to get stronger in that area. And he comes into this week healthy, but I just kind of want to see what it looks like. Jaden Reed was really the one to pull out from last season as the projected one. And we'll see if Watson is healthy and if he makes it past week 1 healthy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think Reed should be a must start in this situation here. The nickel situation there for the Phillies are dealing with youth, and Jaden Reed has the talent to really shine in this game here. He's definitely someone that Love will use as a safety blanket for sure. Christian Watson, I think you have to play your matchup. If you're projected to be a team that might lose week 1, Christian Watson's a good flex option as a boom play. But again, you're going to deal with the bust as well with him. Whether or not he is the target leader or not on this team, his fantasy value kind of fluctuates and very inconsistent. So, you kind of flex him if you think you're looking for a boom week. But again, he's a very scary guy. Again, Romeo Dobbs, I kind of want to see what he does on the field before I consider him. Dontavian Wicks, not really starting him in week 1 until I know if his role is going to be a little different. Luke Musgrave at all there, Coach Tyler?
I'd put him on the fence. He's not someone that really – he's not someone that wows me. Like we talked about with shootout potential in this game, there's a possibility that he goes out there. He could be a DFS guy. You're going in your DraftKings lineups and you're looking for a cheap option after you spin up on everyone because you're excited that it's week 1. Yeah. But he's a guy that I'm on the fence about. He had – games last year where he looked like he could break out and be something special. We have a couple top 10 finishes, but as of right now, I'm going to put him on the fence and see really what this offense looks like now that we have a second-year Jaden Reed and a healthy Christian Watson, and see how Love spreads the ball around.
Yeah, that's going to be a key factor is what the target share is going to be like for Musgrave. If Tucker Kraft is out this game, definitely bolds more confidence. But if he plays, I'm personally leaning towards more of like the sit way. But again, he's one of those on the fence guys. Flip side of the ball, Jaden Hurts. I mean, you're going to start Jaden Hurts. It's pretty obvious there. We don't really need to talk much about that there, but you start Jaden Hurts. Let's talk about Saquon Barkley, the newcomer there. Confirm, fully confident, start with him as well.
Yeah, confirm, fully confident. Again, just where you were taking him at ADP, you better be confident in starting him at least week 1.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of the talk of the offseason has been it's not going to be the quantity of what he got in New York, but it's definitely going to be more quality touches behind the best offensive line he's ever played behind. So I'm not expecting Saquon Barkley to touch the ball 30 times a game like you would see in New York. But at the same time, I think that his 18 to 20 touches are going to have a little bit higher efficiency in that. And so I'm happily starting him going into week 1.
So over to the wide receivers now. Obviously, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Are they both must-start players for you?
They're both must-start players for me. Again, just shootout potential, highest over, under, highest total of the week. And again, you drafted A.J. Brown most likely in the first round. There's a league where I got him in the second, so always glad to steal that. And then Devonta Smith, you're drafting him in the first 4 or 5 rounds. And so the way that your team's shaping up, you kind of have to start them, again, unless some kind of freak injury happened and someone's getting moved up your board. But week 1, throw your studs out there. I expect them to do good things. Again, we've seen some slight volatility with international games, but this is the first one in Brazil, so we don't have any stats to go off of for that. So start them with confidence and hope that they break the mold.
Yeah, start your studs. Brown has a tougher matchup with Alexander, but Smith should be a fine start as a flex option for you. If you're thinking about Jahan Dotson, obviously he's a void sit right now until we know otherwise with this Packers offense, this Eagles offense. And then Dallas Goedert real quick.
Goddard I'm on the fence with.
He's a fence guy.
Yeah, he's not someone that you drafted early enough that you have to start him. And again, kind of like where you talked about with Musgrave, it's just seeing how, we've got a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. It's seeing how that offense works, how the ball's spread around. They have a really real running back in Saquon Barkley, so the run game might take precedent too. So just kind of on the fence, sit and wait and see what the season looks like.
Absolutely. Love it. On to the next game here. Jacksonville versus my Miami Dolphins here. We'll start with the Jacksonville side of things. Trevor Lawrence, must-start guy or kind of on the fence with him?
He's must-start in my mind. Jacksonville's been very committed to pushing the ball downfield, and we saw that with a lot of how they tooled their offseason acquisitions. And so I think Lawrence is going to come out shooting. The Jaguars are most likely going to be playing from behind if I believe that the Dolphins go out and do what they're supposed to do. And so they're going to have to throw the ball anyways. So,
That's the goal. Yeah. No. I'm a little more on the fence with Trevor Lawrence personally, but I'll allow him to be a start guy. Again, like you said, I think it's going to be kind of a shootout kind of game there in Miami. So over to Trevor Lawrence Scott. Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby there in the back there. I don't really think we're expecting anything from Tank Bigsby week 1, but Travis Etienne, is he a must start still, right?
Yeah, Travis Etienne's must start pretty easily. Even, if this isn't a high running game, he's been extremely efficient out of the backfield receiving. And I'll tell you right now, Sleeper has Tank Bigsby projected for 14.4 rushing yards and 3.6 receiving yards. So Sleeper doesn't think he's going to factor in. Most of the world doesn't think he's going to factor in all that much. So it's the Travis Etienne show until Peterson proves it otherwise.
Yeah, Etienne should see the workload in this game here. Whether or not Miami lost Christian Watson this offseason, that run defense might not be as good as it once was last year. You start Travis Etienne. Over to the wide receivers, is there any wide receiver that you want to start, or are they all kind of on the fence for you this week?
If I had to pick one,
maybe.
Yeah, if I had to pick one to start, it would be Christian Kirk. Definitely on the fence about Brian Thomas. Just as a rookie, I kind of want to see what he does going out there. But he's someone that I've been super excited about all off season. And again, like we talked about with Jacksonville, really committing to pushing the ball downfield. This is a 6'3" receiver that ran like a 4.3 at the combine. So he's going to be a guy that they lean on heavily. But I don't know if it's going to be immediately. So I'm on the fence. Just, his first real game of his career. I don't immediately want to throw him in if I have another option, but also he's a player that I could definitely see catching a 70-yard touchdown and just like taking social media by storm.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Christian Kirk, he's a fine flex. He should be the wide receiver 1 target there. Brian Thomas, like you said, he's kind of like I mentioned with Christian Watson. If you're looking for a real more risky boom, like that's Brian Thomas Jr. but the floor could be really bad. And I'm avoiding Gabe Davis until I see more. Evan Ingram, I mean, at this point, the tight ends, you have to start Evan Ingram this week. There's really nothing to kind of say about that. I mean, he's your starting tight end for a reason. Flip side of the ball, Tua. Are you starting Tua this week?
I'm starting Tua. Everyone is healthy, which is obviously what you want going into week 1. I don't think he's going to have a game that blows you away. Like, I don't think he's going to be the quarterback 1 overall, but they just paid Jalen Waddle. It would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice.
They just paid Jalen Waddle all this money. You still have Tyreek Hill. And I think that they're just going to, that they're just going to throw the ball and go wild. And Mike McDaniel is going to have the time of his life.
Yeah, if you have Tua as your starting quarterback this week, or, he should be fine. Like I said, this is a high-scoring game. I think potentially both Trevor Lawrence and Tua should be able to go off. I'm going to put the wide receivers in here now while we have them just in my head here. Tua and Waddle. I mean, you start those guys. You don't really think twice about them this week here. Those are both must-starts. Tight ends. I'm not really looking forward to. I don't even think Jonnu Smith is on the active depth chart now.
I think he's the number 1.
The last depth chart I saw, he wasn't on the team. I don't really know what's going on with that.
According to sleeper projections, he's the number 1 projected tight end for them. So
sit him until you see what his role is. But the running backs are my main concern. I think we could all say that Jalen Wright is probably not someone you're considering at all right now. But Mostert and A-Chain, are you going to just start them and just go with it? Like, you just have to, right? Like, you can't see any other way not to start him.
I feel like I'm on the fence about Mostert. Kind of remembering what happened with Jamal Williams. Obviously, not the exact same situation, but Mostert has been injured every year of his career except last year, and really he blew up because of his insane touchdown season, right? 18 rushing touchdowns and then 3 receiving touchdowns. So 21 overall. I don't think he's going to repeat that. He obviously has the ability in this Miami offense to go out there and have a slight regression that still puts up great numbers. But I really just want to see what the offense looks like and if he even makes it out of game 1, just knowing the Raheem Mostert injury history. I would love it if he did. If he doesn't, then Jalen Wright, we're moving him up very quickly.
That's true.
But I think A-Chain's, smash start. Yeah,
you draft him in round 2, round 3, you have to start him. Yeah. I don't care. You have to take the upside that he offers. And then, again, I'm more on the starting Raheem Mostert side of things. I understand you being on the fence, but he's still the RB1 in my eyes there. So, over to the next game. Arizona Cardinals versus the Buffalo Bills here. Kyler Murray, is he a start for you? I'm going to assume that he's going to be a start.
Yeah, he's a start for me. He's a guy that a lot of people are excited about, especially with the acquisition of Marvin Harrison Jr. through the draft, and then that late emergence, that late breakout that we saw from Trey McBride last year, and then obviously his rushing ability. Buffalo's defense, Buffalo's defense isn't what it has been in the past. And
the secondary is still really good though, but
I've heard different things about their secondary.
That's fair,
but also from what I've seen, Matt Milano is going to be out, which is their middle linebacker, very big in terms of he would be the one to help corral Kyler Murray, and him being out really helps that rushing ability go through the roof. And so I like Kyler Murray as a smash start and just seeing how they come out ready.
Mm-hmm. James Conner, Trey Benson here. You would assume that James Conner is going to be the RB1 for this team, but is he a must-start player? Is he more on the fence for you?
I'm on the fence about him. I really, depending on how your roster is constructed, James Conner might have come out of the draft as your RB2, or even if you were really crazy, your RB1. And in that case, obviously, you're starting him because you have to start him.
That's true. That's fair.
But yeah, he's the presumed one. A lot of confidence in him, at least going up to the bye week as the main ball carrier out of this backfield. Trey Benson's a guy that, I'm going to sit or avoid for right now. Haven't seen a ton of confidence in him coming out. A
little concerning.
even through camp, there was talk of him battling for the RB2 spot. And
that's
so
not what we want. No.
Sit and avoid for right now, and then see how things play out.
Connor's a borderline RB2, RB3. Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy wanting to start him, but he's there. Benson, I'm going to wait until see how this carry load works for them. The rookie, Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, I think that's the only Cardinals wide receiver we're considering starting. I'm assuming you're just going to start him because you probably drafted him in round 2.
Yeah, this is one of those, as much as I'd love to sit and wait and put him kind of on the fence with just, rookie being in his first game, like we talked about with Brian Thomas Jr. You drafted him, he was going inside the top 10 at the wide receiver position. So you really don't have too many other options unless you just drafted all receivers. So I start him. Again, this is going to be an exciting game. Arizona's most likely going to be playing from behind
more than likely
the entire game. And so Kyler Murray's got to let it rip at some point. And if I'm targeting 6'4" Marvin Harrison, I like my chances.
Yeah. Again, same thing with Marvin Harrison. Like, you got to start him, and he's the number 1 target on this team here. Same thing goes for Trey McBride. You drafted him as your tight end 1 this week. Unless you have another elite tight end in your team, you're starting Trey McBride in this matchup. One player real quick. Greg Dulcich, does that name do anything for you? Probably not. But I wouldn't be surprised if Greg Dulcich ends up having an interesting week. But whatever.
He's definitely Greg Dulcich is one of those. He's a DFS guy. I'm not sliding him into my roster unless I've got a very deep league.
Not at all. Josh Allen, we can pretty much say, is an auto start this week.
100%.
James Cook, I mean, I kind of have him in as an auto start. I'm going to put him there. Arizona's defense is terrible. So
smash start.
Again, if you have like the rookie Ray Davis, I'm not starting the rookie until I see what his workload is. Obviously, the tight end Dalton Kincaid. Again, just like Trey McBride, you start Kincaid. There's no reason not to put him in your starting lineup. The matchup's good enough for him. Wide receivers, though, Khalid Shakir, Curtis Samuel is banged up, so I really probably wouldn't avoid him. But Keon Coleman, so mostly Coleman and Shakir. Tyler, any thoughts on that?
I have them both on the fence. I think it's got to be either Shakir or Coleman that comes out of the wide receiver room as the, quote, wide receiver one. I really think the wide receiver one is going to be Dalton Kincaid. But out of the wide receiver room, it's going to be Shakir or Coleman. But Coleman, again, rookie, played in his first game. Shakir, we've seen glimpses, but that was also as the third option behind Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And so, thrusting him into the spotlight, is he going to be able to be that guy? So
one
really
of them has to step up.
Yeah. So Shakir and Coleman, they're on the fence until I see, Josh Allen really loves one of them. And then Curtis Samuel, he did log a full practice yesterday. I haven't seen practice reports today, but
we'll move him to the on the fence then. That's fine. I think if you start any of these guys, I mean, you're looking for upside and a sleeper play from any one of these three. Personally, Shakir's for me is the guy I'm looking forward. But if Samuel is a must, if Samuel's logging practices in by Friday, his value kind of becomes more of a flex appeal for sure. So
yeah, you're throwing darts with all of these guys, just hoping you get the one that sticks.
Exactly. All right, over to the Patriots versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Jacoby Brissett, probably you're gonna sit him this week here. You're not really looking to start Jacoby Brissett, even in a super flex league. Not much to say there. Ramondre Stevenson, though, are you starting Ramondre Stevenson this week?
I would start Ramondre. He's not a guy. I've kind of talked about this whole New England offense. I'm not excited for really anyone on this offense. But if someone is going to be force-fed volume and hopefully do something with it, it's going to be Ramondre.
Yeah, agreed.
Just hoping that they just give him the ball and give him all the dump-offs out of the backfield and hope that he turns out some kind of good week for you.
Yeah, I mean, he should, especially if Antonio Gibson is dealing with an injury. I think it came up today. Stevenson should see the majority of the workload in this game. And obviously, if he can get that passing down work this week from Brissett, should be a fine start for you as an RB2. Wide receivers, I guess, Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas. Fence sits.
I'm on the fence with Pop Douglas. Just, again, someone's going to have to come out of this room and catch something. Jacoby Brissett can't finish the game with 0 completions. And if he does, Drake May will very quickly be on the field and change that. But Demario Douglas is the one that I would like to see. I'm sitting, all the rookies, just kind of seeing what the room looks like. Yeah. Again, this isn't an exciting team. I think we talked about their win total is like 3.5 games, according to DraftKings. And so there's not too much of the offense that's going to perform extremely well for you in fantasy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, I guess Douglas is the only one guy you could consider in deeper leagues. Tight end wise, haven't heard Hunter Henry is going to be out yet, but I know I saw that like last week that he might not play in this game. But if he does play, the matchup is favorable for him. So, but again, you're not really probably starting him in most formats since you probably have an elite tight end that you drafted. So, but his matchup solid for those in deeper leagues.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, pretty much a must start there, right? No other option. Yeah. T. Higgins, is he a must start?
I think T. Higgins is definitely a must start. We got to see what happens with Chase. He was limited at practice Wednesday. He was limited at practice today. And we kind of talked about it with CeeDee Lamb a couple weeks ago. Just these holdouts, they're not getting practice reps. They're not getting up to game speed. And Jamar Chase has just been this, will he, won't he type guy. So T. Higgins, at his floor is going to be the wide receiver 2 for this game. At his ceiling, he takes over because Chase is unhappy with whatever and decides that he's
do you play if Chase plays Sunday? Do you just start him no matter what?
I feel like you have to. Chase was going as a top 6, top 8 guy. So if he plays, I feel like you kind of have to start him. I'm not going to be overly excited and think that he's going to have some boom game where he goes off for his, 30 points. But I think he's going to still have a wide receiver 1 floor. It's just not going to be.
If he doesn't play, though, does like a guy like Andre Ivos, I can't even say his name, the third wide receiver on kind of that fence player?
I don't know how to say his name either.
Would you consider him if he's out? I mean, you probably won't unless you're in a deeper league or dynasty, but he may be a sleeper option if Chase were to miss this game.
Yeah, I'd be on the fence about him. He's not a guy that would excite me to start, but if I'm, at wit's end, if I'm projected to lose by 20 points and I'm taking a shot, he could be. He's got a lot of skill in the return game, and so we know that he's able to, read a field, and even he might go out there and return a punt as he's playing receiver too. And that's so, true. There's opportunity there, but it's not something that I would be excited for.
We got a question in the chat from Jay. Pick 3: A-Chain, Cook, Henry, and Rashad White. Real quick, who we got there? Probably A-Chain, Cook,
Henry. I'm going to go A-Chain, Cook, Henry.
Yeah, Endrick, that's exactly what I would do it as well. Pertz and Ferguson, PPR league.
I'm going to go Fergie.
Split on Pitts.
Yeah. I would have said Pitts if he didn't pop up with a hamstring injury literally first practice of the regular season.
That's fair. That's fair. I can accept that.
But, yeah, Ferguson, Dallas is going to have to throw it to someone. Cleveland has a great defense, and I think they're going to game plan well for CeeDee Lamb, which is going to make Dak – it's going to force him to look at other options. Ferguson is really the number 2 option there in the receiving game.
That's fair.
So, I saw a stat that he had the highest red zone target percentage in the NFL last season, at least for tight ends. And so
sure did.
He's getting the ball at some point, and especially around the goal line. So I go for
That's fair. Again, the tight end, Mike Gesicki, probably won't start him. Wouldn't consider him as a startable tight end. If Chase is out, maybe you're taking a deep shot because he becomes the second option, but more than likely you're kind of avoiding. And then, running backs real quick. Moss and Chase, are they fence guys? They're definitely not must starts in my opinion. But
I don't have Moss as a must start, but he is a guy that I like, at least in week 1. We wanted to see what the regular season depth charts looked like, and first depth chart for the Bengals came out, and it was Zach Moss is the 1 and Chase Brown is the 2, which is really, it's not what a lot of people predicted would happen, but it's the logical thing to happen. But also we saw Chase Brown as the leading punt returner. And so I don't know what it means that they're throwing him back on special teams. Maybe he's not going to get as much work as everyone thought, and that's just how they're making up ground for him. But Moss is someone that I really liked the signing going into Cincy. And
RB3 value kind of guy.
Yeah, he's not a must start for me, but he's a guy that if I had to start him, I'd be okay with it, especially in this game where Cincinnati could get out to an early lead and just run the ball.
Yeah, Moss over Chase Brown for sure if you roster both of them.
Yeah.
All right, Vikings Giants here. Vikings Sam Darnold.
Yeah, on the fence.
He's just on the fence kind of player. Probably more super flex leagues you want to start him, not single QB. Let's take the Daniel Jones. Same thing, kind of like.
Yeah.
I don't want to say he's a start, but like if you're in super flex leagues, QB2, like I don't hate it.
Yeah, these are super flex starts if you need them as your QB2. But if you're in a 1 quarterback league, I really hope you drafted someone before Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones.
Absolutely. Aaron Jones, Minnesota. I think we can again agree you start him out of the gate there.
Yeah, just kind of seeing what the offense looks like. He's not a guy that I'm excited to start. He's really someone that I I might put on the fence.
I like it. I'll accept that. I'll accept on the fence.
Yeah, I like him on the fence. He's an older running back coming into a new system, and Kevin O'Connell is a great game plan, but we saw that the run game for the Vikings kind of, was decimated last year. And so we'll see if it looks the same or if Aaron Jones can come out and be vintage Aaron Jones.
Yeah. I mean, if he is, then he's a must start. But again, you don't really know what the workload's going to be. Ty Chandler could be involved. I have him as Ty Chandler's obviously a sit for this week just until we see what this workload's like. But yeah, Aaron Jones is I still have him as a RB2 in my books. Devin Singletary. How do you feel about Singletary this week?
I would start Singletary.
Right.
I'd start him over Aaron Jones at least. I think this game is going to have to be a throwing game just because neither team is outstandingly efficient in the run game.
Definitely not.
But also, I don't think the Giants are going to want to rely on Daniel Jones to go win a game with his arm. And so they're going to use their new free agent acquisition and use Devin Singletary. He was, fairly efficient last year with the Texans and obviously going to a worse offensive line. But, they're going to rework the offense. I think Singletary, if of either of the starting running backs in this game, is the running back to come out on top.
That's fair. I don't hate that. If he's more of an RB3 for me, obviously Justin Jefferson is a must start. Minnesota's tight ends, I don't really want to trust Johnny Mudded or Moultz or Josh Oliver. So I'm not obviously considering them as options. Jordan Addison, I'm kind of on the fence with Jordan Addison. That's how I feel about him.
And we saw, he's been limited in practice both days this week with some ankle injury that popped up. So
probably
not ideal. Yeah.
Definitely he's on the fence. He's probably tipping for me towards the sit side if I had to pick Aaron Jones this week. Let's see. Look at Giants players. Malik Neighbors, I think you start him. You just got to go for it.
I think he's, of all of the rookie wide receivers, I think he's going to get the most volume week one. And so I think you put him in. He looks great in the preseason when we were able to see him. Daniel Jones, outside of the first preseason game that they played together, looked for him very quickly. And so I like Neighbors. I think that he comes out as the highest scoring rookie this week just because of sheer volume in your half PPR and PPR leagues.
Yeah. You got to start him as a borderline RB2 kind of player that he's going to see the workload on the offense. I wouldn't consider any of the Giants players this week, at least for now, till we know what this team's going to be about. Daniel Bellinger, he doesn't really do it for me in terms of a guy you want to start this week. So, all right, over to the next game here. Tennessee Titans versus the Chicago Bears here. Titan side, Will Levis. You want to play Will Levis this week.
I'm on the fence about Will Levis. Just the fact that it's a new offense. We don't know what it's going to look like. They obviously don't have Derrick Henry anymore. They do have Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, but we don't know if it's going to be an offense that relies on the run game or if they're going to want Levis to go out there and throw the ball 35, 40 times.
I think they're going to want that. That's
they might want it.
Offensive line coach.
They might want it. We'll see if it's successful. It definitely, if any team it's going to be successful against, it's going to be the Bears. But
that's fair. Yeah.
I'm on the fence until I see it, really.
That's fair. Caleb Williams, rookie quarterback, first overall pick.
I think weapons-wise, he's it's hard because
defense gotten better, and I think they're going to be a surprise team this week in week one.
Weapons-wise, I feel like he has to be a start, but just rookie quarterback in his first game,
not usually a good thing.
Yeah, you really kind of want to see it.
You want to see it before you get it out there. No, I get it. Running backs, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears. I'm okay starting Tony Pollard personally. That's how I feel. I'm gonna go that route there. I don't know how you feel. Who you prefer to start between the two?
Yeah, I'd probably start Tony Pollard of the two. Spears still holds a little bit of flex value to me.
Okay, I put him on the.
Again, this is one of those wait and see type things because obviously Derrick Henry is a bell cow back, and so Tajay Spears didn't get as many looks in the offense as he's presumably going to get now with Tony Pollard there. But again, it's a kind of a wait and see for me just because everything looks 50-50, but obviously it can play out differently once you get into the game scenario.
Absolutely. Flip side of the ball, DeAndre Swift. I mean, the Titans' run defense. I think that's the weakness. I think Swift will be okay for week 1. Khalil Herbert might be the better running option. I'm torn on that one personally. I think
if I'm starting a running back from the Bears, it's going to be Swift. I don't know how joyously I'm going to start him, but he's kind of in that flex value for me area. I'd put him on the fence just because last year it was a jumble of what the Chicago Bears running back room looked like. And so it's seeing, obviously, with the tampering and the fact that they signed him about 25 seconds into free agency. They like him enough to go make that move, but I don't know what that looks like in this offense.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence with both. I think Swift is a decent RB3 play. I think Khalil Herbert could be the sneaky play that I don't think anyone's really going to start this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if he led the team in rushing just because his ability on the ground. So, but again, I have him on the fence kind of. I think there could be deep sleeper value for him in week 1. Flip side of the ball, Calvin Ridley, start?
Yeah. He's, I've talked about kind of, I'm not overly excited for this passing attack for the Titans, but I feel like Ridley's going to be the one to really kind of show out. I think he's going to get the highest target share, which gives him the best opportunity to go out and do something. We'll see if he can catch a ball in the end zone this year. Apparently that was his kryptonite last year.
It was.
But if he can figure out how to do that, he is going to move up in my rankings. But if I'm taking a receiver out of this game, it's going to be Ridley. Hopkins, we're still
seeing
seeing
him first game back, maybe off of injury. Not trusting that.
Well, he's still pulling out limited practices.
Yeah, even that he might not even play.
So,
Tyler Boyd could be interesting as a sleeper if DeAndre Hopkins were to miss. I'm just saying it now.
Yeah,
in the slot, definitely interesting. Flip side, back to the Bears here. Do you start DJ Moore? Do you start Keenan Allen? Do you start Rome Odunze?
I'm starting Moore and Allen. Obviously, I kind of want to see what Allen looks like. He's starting out the season limited in practice. So obviously smash start DJ Moore. Keenan Allen's healthy. I'm starting him just because of how much of a target hog he is. Rome Odunze, where you have him on the fence, is perfect for me. Just seeing how he fits into this wide receiver room. Again, rookie, first game. We want to see what it is. But also, there's a chance that Chicago comes out in 3 wide receiver sets a ton, and Odunze is on the field all the time. But, I have him on the fence. If Keenan Allen's healthy, I'm going to start him. DJ Moore, I'm obviously starting him.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. We just talked about like Caleb Williams, like a flex fence guy, but we have 2 of his receivers going to be starts. But like that's just what it is. It's like you start Moore now, and they should be fine. But like Caleb Williams, the turnovers, the effectiveness for him is just crazy.
The receivers can't throw interceptions.
That's true. That is
Ideally,
tight ends from both these teams. Like I'm not worrying about Cole Kmet. I think Chig Okonkwo got put in as a co-starter, so avoid the Titans Titans tight ends there. God, it's a tongue twister. All right, over to the next game here. Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints here, starting with the quarterbacks. I think we can kind of agree that Bryce Young and Derek Carr are players we don't want to play week 1.
Yeah, no. I hope they aren't your quarterback 1. Yeah, if they are, then we need to talk about your drafting strategies.
Absolutely. Chuba Hubbard, I have him as a sit this week. I don't really want to start him. That Saints front line is pretty tough. Even though he's going to see the workload, I think Miles Sanders got banged up, but I'm pretty concerned about Chuba. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I'm going to put him as a sit. Kind of this Carolina offense, it's a step above, but it's very New England offense to me. They have some better options, better pieces, but there's not a ton of guys in this offense that are going to be starts for me unless they just really break out. Not a lot of guys that I'm going to be excited about putting in my roster.
That's fair. Yeah. Again, the other side, I mean, you start Alvin Kamara. Obviously, he's a top tier running back, and he has always done well against Carolina. Jamal Williams, maybe late game success if the Saints are up. But again, I'm probably wishing too much for these deep sleeper running backs.
Yeah, I would have Williams as on my sit and avoids. Just from what we saw last season.
He's probably on waivers somewhere. So
yeah, his highest finish last year was week 18. He was running back 23. And there's a lot of red when you look on Sleeper, a lot of RB 40s and 50s. And so
that's true.
I don't think too much of that changes this season unless he really figures something out.
Deontay Johnson. I kind of had Deontay Johnson as more of a fence guy just because I want to see how good Bryce Young is.
Yeah.
And that's if he's going to have the targets, but are they quality targets? That's my concern.
Yeah, I put Johnson, and honestly, I put Thielen there. Just coming off the year that he had last year, really, can he replicate it? I think so. It just depends on what those targets look like coming from Bryce Young and how it's divvied up now with Deontay Johnson in there. But Thielen's a fence guy for me to see what his target share still looks like.
No, that's fair. Chris Olave, I already threw him in the start column. I mean, that's pretty obviously. I mean, I don't really know if Rashard Rashid or anyone like that are worth starting this week here, but the matchup's favorable-ish. But again, I probably don't want to start any other Saints receivers just because I don't know what's going to happen.
Shaheed would be the only one that I would look at and say, that guy could catch, a long touchdown pass. Derek Carr could throw up a prayer, and Shaheed could come down with it in the end zone. And so, really kind of hoping for that big boom potential, but that's really the only reason I'd have him in a lineup. That's fair.
Tight ends, Juwan Johnson, he should be back and healthy, ready to go. And if you're if you're in a deeper man league starting Juwan Johnson, you should be pretty happy. Taysom Hill, again, he's that guy that you just don't know what to do with, but if you start him, go for it. I mean, take that risk if you think he could go 2 touchdowns up this week. And then obviously any Panthers tight end, just don't worry about them this week.
Yeah.
All right. Steelers, Falcons. Let's keep this thing running here. We're running out of time. Hey, it's Kyle. Hey, Kyle. What's up, buddy? All right. Pittsburgh Steelers, Atlanta Falcons. Russell Wilson. He's already banged up.
Yeah. I'm not touching either of the Pittsburgh quarterbacks this week, even if Justin Fields goes out there. I will say, funny thing, I'm looking at the week 1 projecteds as we talk about this with the teams, and both Ben Roethlisberger and Kyle Allen are projected above Justin Fields as quarterbacks for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So
I don't know how that's possible.
You love to see that.
Oh, God.
But yeah, I'm not touching either of the Pittsburgh quarterbacks. Justin Fields could have the rushing ability, but I know the offense is, at least for now, tailored to Russell Wilson.
I don't think he plays, so it doesn't even matter. Kirk Cousins, how do you feel about him in his first game back? I'm kind of on the fence about him.
I'm on the fence just seeing, he's an older quarterback he's an older quarterback coming back from a, major surgery, major injury with that Achilles tear. And so I'm a wait and see on him.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of on the same boat. I'm waiting to see. I have Najee Harris as a start this week. I don't know if Jalen Warren is going to be 100% come week 1. And I think Najee Harris takes that workload. For me, Warren's a sit this week until I know that he's ready to go for week 2.
Yeah.
How you feel about that?
I have him on the fence just to see if he's healthy, but I would really the hamstring does kind of scare me.
Yeah, it's a little scary. I think Harris gets the workload. Bijan Robinson, obviously you start Bijan Robinson. Tyler Algier, again, kind of similar thing. I don't have any interest. I don't think he's going to see the same workload as he did last year.
See, so going back to Jalen Warren, looking at something, he did practice in full today.
Okay.
So there's a chance that he's healthy and back. And then Algier, really everyone's big qualm, their problem with Arthur Smith was he was giving Algier too many touches. And the new coaching staff, Raheem Morris, has come out and said that, their offensive coordinator, their head coach. They say he's still going to have a big role. And, this was a back that put up 1,000 yards in his rookie season. Obviously didn't get the same opportunities last year. He's a guy I'm on the fence about. He might just be one of those guys that is always going to bug a Bijan manager and never he's always going to be that thorn in their side. I don't think he's outstanding, but also if they're giving him a big role, who knows?
That's fair. I still I think I just not worrying about him as I consider an option, even if I had to. Wide receiver wise, you start George Pickens, you start Drake London. I think we can both agree you just start those guys. For me personally, Darnell Mooney is a sleeper guy for me against that Steelers secondary. I don't trust them. And I think Mooney could see the easier options with Drake London kind of tied up a little bit. Steelers backups, Van Jefferson, Calvin Alston, probably just leaving them off, not even considering them on the list. Pat Freiermuth.
He's on the fence for me. He's a guy that I really like. He's a guy, that I've enjoyed watching as a Steeler. I have Steeler fans in my family, so I've loved watching Pat, and I'm excited about the tight end role that he could have in this Arthur Smith offense. But on the fence, want to see what it looks like. Want to see what that role is and how heavily he gets targeted with guys like Van Jefferson in the wide receiver room.
Yeah. Again, I like Freiermuth as a sleeper starter this week. I think he could perform really well in this offense and see 7 or 8 targets. Kyle Pitts, like you said, dealing with an injury, hammy injury. I kind of am on the fence, but I feel like he's probably a start anyway. If you have him, if he plays, you got to start him. Right? Yeah. I think you're good with that.
Yeah. Yeah. The hammy injury, obviously don't love it, but it happens.
Agreed. Where'd I go here? All right, next game here, Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. We'll start with the quarterbacks. I think we both can say that C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson are must-start players this week.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud, he's C.J. Stroud. Come on.
Yes.
And then Anthony Richardson last year, and I want to say, let me make sure. I think it was 32 or 33% of snaps.
He had 17 points against you guys.
Yeah. He had 17 points. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in the span of a quarter and a half. And so, I think the Texans defense is better, but also I still think Anthony Richardson is going to be running the ball a ton. That's his bread and butter. So I start both of them happily. And then as you just put up Jonathan Taylor, obviously he's going in there for me.
He's averaged 135 yards a game against Houston.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon, I consider Joe Mixon a start. I think he'll see the workload in this offense over. I don't think a Dameon Pierce or anyone else really takes his workload away from this game. He should see enough work that he's a startable player.
Yeah. So, he's going to be the bell cow in the backfield.
Agreed. Yeah.
I would have Cam Akers coming in as the RB2 over Dameon Pierce.
Eventually, not yet.
Haven't looked at the depth chart, but from what I have seen of Dameon Pierce in the last 2 years,
it's been garbage.
It might be time to call it.
Yeah, I like the Cam Akers call. Wide receivers wise, I'm kind of on the fence this week about Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, I think this could be a really bad matchup. He didn't do well last year in either game against the Texans.
Mm.
You might consider him a start, Tyler. I don't know, but I'm kind of on the fence with him this week. If I have another option, I'd look that way.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. Where you drafted him, it's probably you almost have to. He might be slotting in as your flex, in which case you have some variability, but he's going to be the number 1 target getter in this offense. If Anthony Richardson's throwing the ball to anyone, it's most likely going to be Pittman. But we'll see how accurate Anthony Richardson can be. We saw in that last preseason game that he played, he had one drive where he was just methodical and he didn't run the ball once and he was back there making great passes. And then the next drive, he goes out and throws a bunch of stinkers and then a pick six. And so which version are we going to get?
That's fair. Yeah. Again, I'm avoiding Pittman, not avoiding, but I'm looking at other options if I have Pittman as my start, one of my starters or flex option this week here.
Yeah.
Josh Downs, I don't think Josh Downs is playing, but Josh Downs was someone who apparently really did well with Anthony Richardson this offseason, but I don't think he's playing, but probably just to sit.
Yeah. He hasn't practiced at all this week. So
right, yeah, he's probably out. So probably out. Colts tight ends not dealing with that carousel there. So let's get back to Houston now. Nico Collins. Do we just? I'm just going to start Nico Collins.
Yeah, I'm starting Nico Collins.
I think you have to start all three and just hope for the best and see what happens.
If you have any of the three, you're starting them because Nico Collins, coming off the year he had being that number one for the Texans last year, you trust in the guy, 6'4" receiver, 4.4 speed. Someone's going to be the downfield threat, and it's most likely going to be him. Stephon Diggs, we have the back half of last year, but he's just a target hog, so we'll see what his role looks like. And then Tank Dell, CJ Stroud's best friend. So he's going to make sure he gets him the ball a little bit. Yeah. But, I'm starting all three. I don't think all three are going to be wide receiver ones. I don't think all three are going to be wide receiver twos. But we'll see what it looks like. Yeah.
There's a possibility that all three of them finish the top 36 option potentially, Collins is the guy I think I trust the most. He did very well last year against the Colts. I think he averaged like over 17 fantasy points a game against them in 2 games. So he did very well. So Dalton Schultz, again, it just comes down to targets with Dalton Schultz, and he's not someone I want to start if I don't have to, but you can start him because he's probably going to be the least focused player off the defense to worry about. So there's potential for him just to kind of see open targets with everyone else worrying about the big three at wide receiver. But I'm not really thrilled to start him, but he's probably not a terrible play either. So,
yeah.
All right, over to the next game here. Now we get to the 4 o'clock games. I think that was the last 1 o'clock game. We're almost done. Raiders Chargers here. Gardner Minshew, Justin Herbert.
I'm fence on both of them.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I think Minshew has a better shot, but I think Herbert is good enough to get you points.
Yeah, Herbert's. It's just seeing that Jim Harbaugh offense and how it translates to the NFL. They don't have really an outstanding running back room, but they also don't have an outstanding wide receiver room. So Herbert might just be out on an island trying to figure it out. But I kind of want to see what Herbert looks like and how he performs. Chances are he fell enough in your drafts to where he's not your QB1, especially in super flex leagues. But I want to see what he looks like in that Harbaugh offense. Minshew, I'm on the fence because he has been a starting quarterback in the past. He is able to throw the ball pretty well, and he's inheriting Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. So he's going to have options of guys to throw the ball to. So, just seeing how he fits into that offense.
Yeah, agreed. I like Minshew as a sleeper quarterback in Superflex leagues this week. Herbert is fine. He does always very well against the Raiders. He averages like 280 yards and 2 touchdowns against them. So, history does repeat itself whether or not they switch to more run-first offense. Let's go to the running backs here. I think Zamir White is a solid start. I think he's fine. I think he'll get the workload. That's how I see it. I don't really see him. At least week 1, they're going to give him as much opportunity, I think, as possible. So, I
would take Zamir White of anyone in that backfield.
Yeah, Edwards and Dobbins, to me, I think they're kind of in the middle. I think they said that they're going to ride the hot hand. And you're kind of playing risky if you're starting either one this week in week 1.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. You might be even considered sits, but you can't consider them a sit because of the volume they're going to see in the offense. Unfortunately, one of them are going to have a great game. So, wide receiver wise, Devontae Adams. You start Devontae Adams. I like Jacoby Myers as a startable option. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I like Adams. Myers, he's a flex guy to me, but he's most likely startable.
Yeah. Brock Bowers. I kind of have Bowers kind of in the middle. Rookie first game. It's just.
Yeah.
Never.
And he's been dealing with some injuries. He's been limited in practice. And so it's not exciting to have him limited in practice. If he's out, I think Mayer gets a little boost. But
I don't think enough to still consider him a startable tight end either. But
he's a guy that you could keep your eye on if you need someone, especially cheap.
That's fair. Joshua Palmer, Ladd McConkey. I kind of have him as on the fence players this week. I think Palmer just popped up on the injury report, so that's something that you might want to monitor the rest of this weekend. Because if Palmer is out, I then give Vlad McConkey kind of more of a flex value. But I do want to see how both the target shares go for both these players before I consider them as a true must-start play option. I think both have sleeper potential, but it depends on how the target share goes, really.
Yeah. Just sit Quentin Johnson. We need someone over there. Sit Quentin Johnson.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put Johnson.
As many times as I can hit on Quentin Johnson.
Wasn't even gonna mention him. Tight ends for the Chargers. I'm sitting this week still.
Yeah.
But if Hayden Hurst goes off, don't be surprised. So just throwing that out there. Over the next game here, Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks here. Bo Nix, Bo Nix. Kind of Bo Nix week 1.
I'm a fence Bo Nix. He did look really good in the preseason. Obviously, those aren't all starters that he's going against, but he's always been, or at least he's grown to be, a very efficient completion percentage focused guy at the quarterback position. And I think that's exactly what he's going to be in Denver. I don't think he's going to blow anyone away, but I think he's going to make the necessary throws to go out there and give you some value. I don't think he's going to be a quarterback 1 anytime soon. But if they're giving him the opportunities, I'd like to see what he's able to do with them against some ones. But
he's gonna be fine. It's just that I don't want to trust him in week 1. Let me see some progression in his game before I do it. I like Geno Smith as a sneaky start this week here. Denver's secondary lost players this offseason. Patrick Surtain, he's fantastic, but he can't cover every position on the field. I think this Seattle offense is going to go really pass heavy, and I think Geno will end up being a really good quarterback this week. It's my personal opinion on that. So, running backs, Ken Walker, must start.
Yeah, Walker's a must start for me. Really, the rest of the running backs in this game on the fence or sits.
We'll just say I'm not starting Charbonnet at all. I wouldn't even consider him an option. Javonte Williams.
He's on the fence for me.
That's right.
Just coming off all the injuries. Really, there was also the talk of him not even making the team. And so I think he's going to get that running back 1 volume. We'll see what it looks like for him and how efficient, if he can increase his efficiency from last season.
Yeah. I like him as a start, but I'm okay with him being on the fence as well. I think he'll do enough in this. Jalen McLaughlin, I think he's also somewhat of a potential RB4 startable player that you might be able to use from the passing value for him and being involved in the passing game this week because they don't really have a lot of weapons, Denver, and they might use him in the passing game a little bit more. Let's see, wide receivers. Let's go to Cortland Sutton. I think he's more of like on the fence kind of guy. I think it might be a tough matchup for him.
Yeah, I'd put him on the fence. Again, Bo Nix going out there as the starter. Obviously, Sutton's going to be the one that people project out of this offense, but also we got to see what the offense can do. So Sutton, I'm happy with him on the fence, and then mostly everyone else just sits and avoids unless they come out and do something special.
Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, Denver's tight end crew, they're all sits this week here.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw Noah Fant here in the middle because he's got such a good matchup, but he is banged up, so keep your eyes on that. He might end up being a sneaky play, but he's also a real risk because of his injury concerns that he's got going on right now. So just want to throw that out there. Wide receivers for the Seattle. Who we starting out of that group?
The only one that I'm a smash start is DK. I am very excited for the passing attack that this offense could be. Bringing in their offensive coordinator from University of Washington. Obviously, we saw last year, if you were watching college football through the college football playoff, lots of 3 wide receiver sets. So we might get to see a lot more of Jackson Smith and Jigba. And Tyler Lockett won't go away. He's popped up on the injury report, but he still won't go away. And so I think just on the fence, wait and see on what those 3 wide receiver sets look like. If JSN being on the field attributes to him getting more opportunity than Tyler Lockett and finally being able to overtake that role. But really seeing what a new deployed pass-heavy offense could look like for Seattle.
Yeah, Metcalf's fine as a start. I have some concerns if he gets shadowed by Patrick Surtain, who was really good last year covering wide receivers. He's only allowed like 2 of them over like I think it was like 80 yards. JSN for me, I like him as a sleeper in the slot this week here. Again, it's a little risky because we don't know what the target share is going to be like, but I'm willing to take that kind of risk on him. So
Yeah.
All right, over to the next game here. Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns here. Dak, Deshaun Watson. I think Dak, you just start Dak.
Yeah, start Dak. On the fence with Watson.
I'm going to put him as a sit. I don't trust him in first game. I want to see it again. I need to see it that he is a usable quarterback. I want to see it with the new healthy offense and see how that works.
Yeah.
Jerome Ford.
I'm going to start.
I like it.
I think he is still going to be the same efficient running back that he was last year. You know, we talked in the offseason about what happens with Chubb, obviously starting out of the pup, so we get 4 games of Jerome Ford. I think he goes out and does the exact same thing. Dallas's defense still very good, but also not good enough to scare me away from Jerome Ford going out there and getting the necessary yardage to have a good fantasy week.
That's fair. Yeah. I'm okay with starting with Ford. I think he'll see most of the workload. I know they brought Deontay Foreman back. He's kind of had a couple of serious neck injuries this offseason, so Ford should see the majority of the touches. I can't talk. The Cowboys backfield, though, I'm concerned about. I don't know who ends up being the top guy. Rico has been really hyped up over the last few weeks here now, but I don't know if Zeke gets the important work when it comes to the red zone and the goal line, and he ends up scoring 2 touchdowns, and Rico has 80 yards on the ground, but that's it. So I think both those guys are kind of like wait and see. Like you could start them if you need to, but would not really want to if I didn't have to, especially in this tough matchup.
Yeah, fully behind that. This is really the first time we've seen Cowboys backfield questions in a long time. And so it's really weird. But yeah, I'm fully behind that. Just kind of wait and see on it.
Yeah. Some wide receivers. I mean, I think we can agree Mari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb are must-start players this week still. Any love for Brandon Cooks or Jaden Tolbert?
Not really.
That's fair.
Just the fact that even though they're the wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s on the team, they just don't really excite me. There's not much that they've been able to do except for, a couple good weeks here and there, but nothing consistent enough for me to have faith in them to do anything. Also, I'm really hoping that if you are in a place where you're asking about starting Brandon Cooks or Jalen Tolbert, that you're in like a 32-man league or something.
32-man. Oh, come on. Don't do them like that. That's not that bad. But they have a very similar conversation about just like Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore. Like, I don't want to start them in week 1. I want to see what they do. And the defense is a very tough one on Dallas secondary as well. David Njoku, I mean, he's like a fine tight end. Like, I'm not like thrilled to want to play him, but like you may have to. And I'm okay with that. And again, don't expect the world. He didn't do well with Deshaun Watson before, so.
Yeah. Most of his production did come from Flacco, but we did see a breakout to where he might have to get utilized more by Cleveland.
Agreed. All right. Commanders, Bucks, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield. I like them as startable players this week. I don't know how you feel.
I'm going to keep Jaden as on the fence.
Okay.
Just as, rookie starting quarterback. First game out, the Bucks don't have a terrible defense. And obviously most of his production is projected to come from his rushing, especially after the trade of Jahan Dotson. And so I kind of want to wait and see what it looks like, what he looks like scurrying around out there, and how many times he can take those Mario-type hits and keep going in the NFL as opposed to college.
That's fair. I mean, I'm starting him in a lot of places this week. I think I'm confident enough in his rushing floor. Baker's got a fantastic matchup against that Commander secondary that is like dismantled beyond end this offseason here. He's a good play this week here. Rachaad White. Okay, starting Rachaad White.
Yeah, I have him as a start. Really partially on ADP, partially on his ability to be efficient, especially as a receiving back out of the backfield last year. We talked about it in the offseason. There hasn't really been any changes to this Tampa Bay offense in terms of personnel. And so I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw last year. Might be some new changes with utilization, but I think White is going to really replicate what it was last year, if not exceed it a little bit.
That's fair. I kind of agree with that. I think the workload should be there in the passing game, at least for him. I know Bucky Irving is someone who's being hyped up right now, but let's wait a week before we see what he's able to do. I want to see what kind of role he has on the offense, but White should see majority of the work. Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler, and that's going to be an interesting one.
I
kind of sitting them week one.
Yeah, I'd go on the fence for Brian Robinson, just because he's projected to be the one, but also we'll see what that split is. I'm gonna sit Austin Eckler. Yeah, I'm gonna sit Austin Eckler just because of what we saw last year. Really, the just straight downward trajectory of his efficiency, his ability out of the backfield. And again, he's with the rushing quarterback, so the dump offs aren't going to be as high as it has been with a guy like Justin Herbert.
No, that's fair. I probably don't want to start Austin Eckler. Do this for me. There's no upside right now. I want to see what role he has. Is he going to be that involved in the passing game? Because if not, he needs to be involved in the red zone. But that's Brian Robinson's territory. So, what role is he really going to have? So I get it. Brian Robinson, I like him, but week one, Bucks front seven is pretty tough. Wide receiver wise, I think you just start Chris Godwin, you start Mike Evans, you start Jerry McLaurin. I think we can all agree with that, right, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm sticking with those three.
There's no other wide receivers that I even consider starting. If you think Nami Brown is an option, you just put him on the sit. You think Luke McCaffrey is an option week one, you're sitting them week one. You're not trusting that week one.
Yeah.
Katie Dodden.
I don't really like any of the tight ends in this game.
Let's just say all tight ends. Yeah. I don't either. I think
Kate could be a fence guy, but I'm not really looking to add any of these guys into my lineup for week one.
No. There's no reason for it. I mean, you don't know what the workload's going to be. Kate Otten's got a tough third, fifth, probably fifth on the target share, honestly. And Zach Ertz, we don't know if they're going to split time with him and Ben Sinnott, at least in the first few weeks here, or if someone's going to end up being the main guy. And I don't want to trust that in week one. So, yeah, I'm out on that. All right. Last two games here. Sunday Night Football, Rams versus Lions. Probably one of the funnest games of the whole weekend, probably. Quarterbacks, you start Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff?
Yeah, I start both. Definitely Goff. Stafford would be the one that I kind of teeter on, but he should, if I remember it right, Puka's been practicing. He's off the injury report. If this will pull up. Yep. Practiced fully yesterday. Everything says he's clear. So he'll have all his weapons. Yeah. He'll have all his weapons. So I think you start both of them. This is always, even just for the fact of the storyline matchup, it's a fun game. So having pieces in it, especially at the quarterback position, it's really fun to go back and forth and see which side you take.
That's fair. I think the real question about this game is, who do you not play? Let's throw the running backs. You start Gibbs. You start Dave Montgomery, right? Do you start Kerryon Williams?
You start Kyron. I think it's been since our last show that we did get the news that he is also returning kicks, if I can remember that right.
Blake Corum? Yeah, Blake Corum is returning kicks too.
No, Kyron Williams is returning punts.
Oh, who's returning kicks?
I think Corum is returning kicks.
Yeah,
but
so
Kyron Williams going out there and returning punts. It's just Sean McVay. It's really funny.
Sean McVay's going to say whatever he wants.
Yeah. But yeah, starting all the running backs. Start St.
Brown.
Start St. Brown.
Cooper. Start Kupp and Puka.
Yep. I'd be on the fence about Jameson Williams.
I would sit him. I'll put him on the fence because they did lose a cornerback. The Rams, I think today. So JMO, like I'll put JMO on the fence, but I'm probably avoiding him week 1 at least.
Yeah, he's just a guy that the Lions coaching staff has just preached constantly that they want to get him more opportunities, want to get him the ball more. He's progressing at the level that they expected him to. And so I feel like if they've been as vocal as they have been about him, I think they're finally going to integrate him more. And just his speed, his downfield ability. He's one of those guys that, again, could go out there, catch one long touchdown, and have a successful flex week for you. But he's a guy that I'm on the fence. Obviously, I want to see him healthy, not gambling, and just on the field consistently and actually consistently being involved in the game.
Right. And you start Sam Laporta. So
start Laporta.
Jets 49ers. I'm personally wanting to sit both quarterbacks. I don't know how you feel. I'm sitting Rodgers.
I would say on the fence for Purdy. It's a tough secondary, but Ayuk got his deal done, so he's got all his weapons coming back. Yeah.
All right, that's fair. You obviously start CMC. You start Breece Hall here. I'm trying to think. I guess we move over to the wide receivers. You start Ayuk week 1. I'm kind of on the fence of sitting Ayuk this week.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. Just kind of like we've talked about with the holdouts. He hadn't been at practice, hadn't been getting up to game speed, hadn't been getting conditioned to where he needs to be. So I'm okay putting him on the fence. I feel like if you drafted him, even with
you have
possible discount, like he's too high not to have. Yeah. But also this Jet secondary is very good, and there's a chance that Debo's coming out of the backfield if McCaffrey is still hindered by this calf / Achilles / whatever they want to call it.
Scary thing.
Yeah.
Hope you have Jordan Mason on your team now. I think Debo, you start George Kittle. There's a fine plays, even if you flex Debo, and then you obviously start Kittle. Garrett Wilson, you got to start Garrett Wilson. I think that's really it. Any other Jets wide receivers? I'm going to sit them week 1. I think Mike Williams on a pitch count this week. So
yeah, Mike Williams has never been a player that's really excited me either, especially dating back to his Chargers days. And so sit him happily. I would sit Conklin. Yeah, I would sit Conklin. But he could be something in this offense just because really kind of the lack of receiver depth, but I don't know. We skipped one game though.
Did we skip a game?
We skipped our Thursday night game.
No, we're not doing the Thursday night game. We don't do that. You have to figure that one out on yourself, unfortunately. What did Kyle say? I'm not sure Mike Williams even playing. That's true. I think you have to sit him. Yeah, you don't play him anyway. Yeah, definitely not.
So for the Thursday night game, start everyone because football is back and you don't want to not have pieces in this game.
That's fair. By the way, Mark Andrews going to be bad tonight, just so you know. So if you have Andrews, get ready for a terrible week 1 for him. But don't worry. I will
say, if you read into all the social media stuff, Isaiah Likely was on the week 1 graphic for the Ravens and not Mark Andrews. So
stop. All right, before we get going real quick, we had an audience member, Cameron, asked us to grade this team right now. He had the pick 9, went with Chase, Gibbs, Jacobs, Mahomes, Kincaid, Deontay, Romadunze, Worthy, Pollard, Hopkins, Chuba, and JMO.
Yeah, I like the team. Obviously, if Chase comes back, that makes it better. Taking kind of
got Chase shots at the 9 pick, so that's pretty solid.
True. Kind of taking the rookie shots with Odunze and Worthy. I think we see Worthy involved a lot earlier than Odunze, especially with the Hollywood Brown injury, at least missing this week or tonight.
Solid A minus. Solid A minus here. I like it. I think it's a really good team as long as the injured and holdout players are fine, like Gibbs and Chase. That's going to be your big thing. So, Cameron, solid A minus there. I like the team there. But we're going to wrap things up here, guys. That was a lot of starts and sits that we just had to talk through real quickly here. Coach Tyler, anything you want to say before we get going?
Hey, go check out everything on Dynasty Nerds. Me and Coach Steve have talked about writing over there. Coach Steve puts together this great, full week comprehensive article that he's been working on. It's outstanding. It's worth the read every week. So go over there, use code COACH when you sign up. And make sure you get your pizza and your wings and everything ordered because we got kickoff in just under an hour and a half.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I should really go do that myself now because I have not done that yet. But again, thank you guys all for tuning in, whether you're listening live on our YouTube channel. And I highly recommend because we have a great presentation every single week we give you. And if not, if you're listening on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, we appreciate you guys as well. So we thank you guys all for listening. We'll be back on Monday at some point to talk waiver wires and stuff. And then obviously we'll be back every Thursday, 6 p.m. to talk starts and sits. So we thank you guys all for listening. Tune in until next time. Have a good one.
Back to back is not far-fetched. We got a couple of Clark Kents. I've been feeling super duper. How the heck they know the future? Come with me, don't be a